Welcome, Pewter Report readers, viewers, and listeners to a brand new edition of the Pewter Report podcast, energized by Celsius, the official energy drink of PewterReport.com. This is a Pewter post-game show. I was about to say game day show, but we did that earlier. And we are recapping a second straight victory for your Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which was, for all intents and purposes, a wacky game, but wacky games are just what the Tampa Bay Buccaneers do. So wacky is quite normal around these parts. And it was a game where I would say it was 55 minutes of anger and frustration, but then 5 minutes of entertainment where the Bucs were able to pull off a 29-25 win over the Atlanta Falcons, which puts the Bucs back into first place in the NFC South. We're about to recap all of it. I'm your host, Matt Matera. Joined with me is my fellow colleague and the face that runs the place at PewterReport.com, SR Scott Reynolds. Scott, I don't think this is how, if we were going to predict the Bucs win, how we would have drew it up, but it got the job done.
It did get the job done. And it's just kind of crazy how this team just retook the lead today in the NFC South. I mean, Todd Bowles is one win, or I should say one loss away from possibly us talking about a head coaching change next year. And yet he lives to fight another day. So do the Buccaneers.
Yeah.
All three teams in the NFC South, by virtue of the Saints winning and the Buccaneers winning and the Falcons losing, all at 6-7 now. If this sounds familiar, folks, it's because it is. There wasn't a team over 500 or at 500 last year to finish the 2022 season. Actually, you can't finish at 500 because of the 17 games. But all of the teams had losing records, including your Tampa Bay Buccaneers that won the division at 8-9. And lo and behold, they're leading the division once again with a below 500 record in probably one of the worst divisions in football. Certainly the worst division in the NFC. But hey, this was a monumental win for the Buccaneers. They avoid getting swept by the Falcons. Big plays galore by a few players, and some guys were just about shut out of this whole thing from a playmaking standpoint, notably Mike Evans. But man, this really was, we had him on the feature graphic here. Rachaad White. I wrote about him in my Fab 5 on Friday, and Rachaad White just came to play today. 102 yards. He had the 31-yard touchdown catch. Just an incredible performance from him. The Bucs offense really got going late with the running game.
Yes.
And the key to me was when they started pulling Luke Gedeke from right tackle into the left guard hole, and really started powering Rachaad White to some of those big runs, Matt. And 102 yards. This is his second 100-yard day out of the last 3 games. And he's really, he was the offense today.
He was. I go clearly because Mike Evans wasn't involved at all. And Chris Godwin made some big plays on the final drive. But up until then, there was a point in this game where Mike Evans and Chris Godwin had combined for 3 catches for 16 yards in the entire game. And that was pretty much before the last drive. I want to give a shout out to Chase Edmonds as well, because we talked about Rachaad White. Someone else needed to step up besides Mike Evans and Antoine Winfield Jr. on the defensive side. We'll get to the defense in a little bit.
Yeah.
But they needed someone else to step up. And we talked about maybe Rachaad White having a complete game. And the run game turned it on late, especially in that fourth quarter. Up until the fourth quarter, I truly thought Chase Edmonds was the best running back on the Bucs roster in today's game for what he was able to do. He ended up with 8 rushes for 40 yards. That's a clip of 5 yards per rushing attempt. And then Rachaad brought it on, like I said, later in the game. But the screenplay was the biggest impact that the offense had. The other touchdown that Baker had, let's not forget, they started at the 5-yard line because Carlton Davis made an awesome interception that I wish was for a touchdown. But you got to give credit. As frustrating as this game was, as much as we want to question a lot of things that Dave Canales did, he stuck with the run game, and the run game really, really put it over the top for the Bucs at the end. And then K. Dotton made the big play when it was needed. And we've talked a lot about in crunch time when the Bucs haven't stepped up and made those big plays, which was super important, especially because I thought Baker Mayfield was downright atrocious today as a quarterback. Not hearing you, Scott. Can you guys hear Scott?
How about now? Is that better?
Yep, got you now.
Sorry, having some mic problems here. Baker Mayfield throwing the ball today. At one point, he was 12 for 27 for 101 yards before that final drive. So just a really bad performance. Now, you have to give him credit. Didn't turn the ball over. At the end of the day, that was the difference in this game. It was that safety forced by an epic play from Winfield Jr. And it just was a tremendous play that only he can make. Probably should have gone for a touchdown. At the same time, we had Pat O'Connor falling on not falling on the ball, but making the tackle in the end zone and getting that safety. And between that play and Desmond Ridder throwing the interception to Carlton Davis, Baker Mayfield didn't turn the ball over. That's probably that plus the K. Dotton touchdown. It's probably the best thing he did today, but it was enough. It was absolutely enough to get this team the win. And, if there's some hesitancy in my voice, people, it's because this is a really bad Falcons team that just falconed. Okay.
Yeah, and Desmond Ridder was terrible too. Desmond Ridder was worse than Baker Mayfield. I mean, he missed a wide open Bijan Robinson in the end zone early in the game that made what could have been 7 points into 3 points. Their kicker, Younghoe Koo, who's been money all season, just inexplicably missed 2 field goals, which obviously would have been very important in this game. Desmond Ridder hit some receivers only because they were so ungodly wide open. Like, it's almost incredible how open they were. The 2-point conversion that Drake London scored, I've never seen someone more wide open in my life. It truly was incredible how open a lot of these guys were able to be. Scott's having a little bit of technical difficulties at the moment, so he just hopped out for a quick second. So you're stuck with me. But you know what? If you watch the Pewter Game Day show, you're with me the whole time as well. David Stack says Zion McCollum showed up today as well. But we got a couple super chats to get to, so let's start with Meets McGee. Thank you for the $5 super chat, Meets, who says, Scott, you were right. If Devin White played this game, it would have been lost. I feel like, Scott, KJ Britt, I thought he was fine. I don't think he was like a liability by any means.
Right.
Are they better off with KJ Britt? And were you surprised that KJ Britt got the start over SirVocea Dennis?
Yes, I was. I believe that it was going to be SirVocea Dennis today getting the start next to Levante David. That didn't happen. I think Todd Bowles felt more comfortable with KJ Britt. And to Britt's credit, he's a bigger guy, right? I mean, you see him. I mean, he's bigger. He is. He's a thumper. And this was a game where they really had to shut down the Falcons' run game. They did that. It's crazy to think that Atlanta did not rush for 100 yards. They had 96 yards on 26 carries. Now, 2 touchdowns, right? They had the Bijan Robinson touchdown and the Desmond Ridder touchdown. But when you look at the fact that the Bucs had 148 yards on the ground, averaging 4 yards a carry, that's Falcon-like number, right? And that was huge for Tampa Bay today to be able to shut down this game. I think a lot of people thought with no Vita Vea, that Bijan Robinson, Tyler Rozier were going to run wild. That wasn't really the case today. I think Tampa Bay did a really good job of getting hats to the ball. And you know what? When you have 4 offensive linemen out of the game for the Atlanta Falcons, that plays a role in it. So it wasn't just Tampa Bay. It wasn't just KJ Britt. He did a very good job, right, in the circumstances. Dropped an interception that maybe SirVocea Dennis catches. But yeah, a credible performance from Britt. But you'd like to think, Matt, without their starting 2 defensive tackles and with 4 out of their 5 offensive linemen missing in action, and Chris Lindstrom was in and out of the lineup, their Pro Bowl right guard with the ankle injury, that the Buccaneers should have, I would say, blown this team out, but it shouldn't have been that close. I mean, they had a 9-point lead in the game that they ended up losing and had to come from behind to win the game.
Yeah, the pass rush was not felt at all in this game. And they did have 3 sacks. Obviously, the Antoine Winfield Jr. strip sack, which we talked about. Greg Gaines had one where it looked like Desmond Ridder was about to take off and run.
Yeah.
And Gaines was able to make the stop. And who had the last one I just saw? Kalijah Cansey had one as well. Yeah. In a very similar situation where like Ridder looked like he was going to run and Cansey got the stop.
Yeah.
The important note, though, is one, I believe all 3 of those happened in the first half. So in crunch time, the Bucs did not get any pressure around Desmond Ridder. Right. Secondly, Bucs only had 3 quarterback hits in that game, and they came from Antoine Winfield Jr., Greg Gaines, and Kalijah Cansey. So that means the only time that they hit or disrupted Desmond Ridder was on those sacks. They did not hit him on any other time in any other moment. There was quite simply no pass rush. There was nothing going on. I thought there were a couple of illegal block in the back penalties that were not called. Like Shaq Barrett, I think, got jobbed on one where he absolutely got pushed in the back, and it was not called. Logan Hall thought he drew a holding penalty that they did not call. The refs, very odd game for the refs because in total, they didn't really throw a ton of flags, which I'm quite happy about. I'm an advocate. Just let the boys play.
Sure.
But at the same time, they inexplicably threw a pass interference penalty on Zion McCollum, who I thought had a great game at corner today.
He really did. Yeah, you look at
on a play where like he barely touched the wide receiver, and they called a pass interference penalty on him.
Yeah, so very ticky-tack call. Yeah. 9 tackles for Zion, led the team, had 2 pass breakups, including a nice one to Scotty Miller down the field.
Speed versus speed, just very fun to watch from an objective, like just NFL viewing standpoint.
No doubt. Fun. Had a forced fumble as well, so a very good game for Zion McCollum. I thought Carlton Davis had a little bit of ups and downs, had the interception, but then had a illegal hands to the face penalty
on the Winfield.
That wiped out Winfield's pick, yeah.
We got the super chat from Eric Moreno. Thank you very much, Eric, for the $5 super chat. You're always in the comments. You're always super chatting us as well, so we really appreciate you, man. See you on X as well. Said, you surprised Vita didn't play today, so I think he'll play next week. Hopefully Carlton is okay. Maybe Dean back next week. They didn't put him on injured reserve, so maybe. To be honest, I don't think the loss of Jamel Dean hurts that much, or when Carlton's been out too, because Zion McCollum has played so well. And for Vita Vea, his injury has to be pretty brutal because again, this was a playoff game. This was the biggest game of the season for the Bucs. Exactly. And the fact that Vita Vea, who as great as Kalijah Cansey is, Vita Vea is still the top dog when it comes to the interior defensive line. The fact that he wasn't able to play, and he's played through a number of injuries this season. All the guys do. There's no questioning that. But for Vita, he's been on the injury report for a number of different things this season, including like a pec injury, stuff like that. So the fact that he wasn't able to go, hopefully he's ready for next week, but that definitely stood out. Yeah, no doubt.
Thought Kalijah Cansey got abused a little bit in the run game, but also had some flashes. I think it was an okay game for him. Greg Gaines stepped up. I thought that he played pretty well. But again, I think the linebackers did a good job. The tackling today, I thought, was pretty good across the board, right? I didn't see a lot of missed tackles. I know there was the one Bijan Robinson play.
JTS.
Delaney. Boy, JTS, that was a big one. That one and the D. Delaney tackle attempt were blown. But I thought that everybody else defensively did a pretty good job of not allowing a lot of yards after catch.
And they got it done at the end on the Drake London catch at the last play of the game. Like that would have been disastrous if that reared its ugly head.
If you're Desmond Ridder, how do you not get that ball to the end zone though?
Yeah, well, I'm curious if was that by design? Because London wasn't in the end zone. I don't think London ran 5 yards up to make the catch.
Well, right. I guess what I'm saying though is he needs to let
when it happened. But
he needs to let
caught it and immediately got tackled.
Right.
He would have to run forward.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like he's got to throw that ball into the end zone with some air and allow a Hail Mary to happen, right? I mean, if you get tackled before the end zone, game's over. That's exactly what happened. So
did he not watch the Black Friday game between the Jets and the Dolphins?
Exactly.
I took it 100 yards the other way.
Yeah.
Let's get back to these super chats. Shout out to LDBC's Most Wanted. Thanks for the $1.99 super chat. Who says, we have multiple Pro Bowlers, but where's McLaughlin? Chase McLaughlin has been fantastic this season.
Yeah, he's
like
money,
obviously
man.
he doesn't get a ton of shine because when the team was their 6th win of the season, when you only win 6 games in going into December, you're not going to highlight your kicker too much.
Right.
I think his only missed kicks this season have been blocked, so that's not really on him.
Yeah.
Too much. He's been fantastic. He's hitting from extremely far out, which is why they brought him in here, because Ryan Suckup is very accurate, but not good from 45 plus.
Right.
McLaughlin has, everyone loves Jake Camarda. Josh Capo is obsessed with Jake Camarda, but Chase McLaughlin's kind of been the best special teams guy this season.
Yeah, he's missed 2 kicks this year. Both of them were blocked.
Yeah,
he has not had a true miss, if my memory serves me correctly. That's incredible. That's better than Ryan Suckup. Like I thought, Ryan Suckup was just amazing kicker, and he was in 2020. He was phenomenal. But Chase McLaughlin is otherworldly with what he's doing right now with field goals. Let me get some fresh statistics here for Chase McLaughlin and give him the praise that he certainly deserves.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's kicked. Where are his stats here? Here we go. So he is 19 of 21. He's connecting on 90.5% of his field goals. He's only missed 2. He's missed 1 from between 40 and 49, and then 1 from beyond 50. And he's at a career long of 57, which he's tied. He had a 57-yarder back in Cleveland in 2021. So yeah, 90.5%. That's amazing. He's again 19 of 21, and just as important, he's 22 of 22 in extra points. Right, he has not missed an extra point, and extra points aren't what they used to be.
Very important. Yeah, they're not gimmies anymore.
Yeah. So he certainly had. He's having a great season so far. He deserves some Pro Bowl recognition for sure. There's no doubt about it. Yeah, and both missed kicks were blocked as well. So sometimes that's on the kicker with like a low trajectory, but listen, he's just been phenomenal. This was a weird game though, right? Because
very weird.
Because the offense by and large stunk. Now it's crazy to think they put up 29 points, which that's like 10 points beyond their average. So you have to give them credit for that, including the game-winning touchdown. But man, some questionable play calls, right? I think some blown opportunities, misusing timeouts in the first half, and I don't know. This game is so hard to kind of like make sense of. They won the game, and you want to feel good about it, but you feel like it's not going to last long. So it's almost a bit of a mirage, right?
Yeah,
I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer, Matt and Pewter people. I'm not. But Baker Mayfield was 14 of 29 for 144 yards, 2 touchdowns. Again, the one touchdown was a screen pass that, honestly, Aaron Stinney, Rachaad White, and Cody Mauch get more credit for that.
Yeah, like Kyle Trask can make that throw. John Wolford can make that throw.
Exactly.
Like, really
you could make that throw, man.
Yeah, you and I can make that. Well, I'm a lefty, so I'd have to change things a little bit. But yes.
Yeah. But you're right. It was Rachaad White and Chase Edmonds. Chris Godwin had a 32-yard catch down the sidelines at the very end. That was a clutch catch. But on 11 targets, he had 5 catches for 53 yards and had a couple drops again for a second week in a row. Mike Evans had 6 targets, 1 catch for 8 yards. And the Falcons did a great job taking away Mike with some bracket coverage, some over-the-top coverage. They played a lot of cover 2, a ton of cover 2. And I thought Baker was very and typically it was Jesse Bates rolling to Mike's side. And you have to almost credit Baker for not wanting to force things into Mike just to feed Mike because of the threat of Jesse Bates, who has 5 interceptions this season. Yeah. So you really have to kind of play both sides of it. It's like, you want Mike to get some catches because he's your best playmaker. At the same time, Jesse Bates is their best playmaker. So you don't want to risk interceptions just trying to feed Mike. In the end, it worked out. But this Falcons team, man, I mean, they're not that good.
Yeah, I mean,
and honestly, the Bucs aren't that good either.
They had lost 3 in a row before they went on their winning streak, and they lost to bad teams as well, or a team that just got their quarterback that week. So, yeah, I mean, the whole NFC South stinks. So, it's like, oh, the Bucs won. How? Well, the Falcons stink. And if the Falcons would have won, it's like, how the hell did the Falcons? Well, the Bucs are a bad football team.
Yeah.
Well, and it makes it very, very difficult to kind of determine how this Bucs offense was. I mean, Dave Canales still running the ball with like 35 seconds to go. It's like, are you playing for the tie right now?
Right.
When you have a chance to win? Like, I didn't understand that. Todd Bowles did say that with the coverage, as you were just talking about, Scott, with the coverage, they were essentially begging the Bucs to run the ball. So they did. But I worry that Canales will fall into this trap or this thought process of, oh, well, they're doubling Mike, so he's just done for the game. We're just not going to get him involved. And I think that's BS, Scott. I truly think that's BS. Like, I get it. Some games you are going to double team him, and you're just physically not going to allow him to get the football. But that can't be the case every single week. Oh, they're double teaming him. They're bracketing him. He's done. We're out. We're going to have to find it with someone else because the Bucs don't have the horses in the barn to do that with this team. Sure, Godwin, who clearly does not look 100% with some of the mistakes he's made, you have to find ways to get Mike the ball. I really don't care. It could be a screen. It could be a simple slant or anything like that. I really don't think there's an excuse for Mike Evans, the greatest offensive player in Bucs history. Only Jerry Rice has more consecutive seasons.
That's right.
1,000 yards. Like, you're telling me you can't get that guy the football?
I know.
Come on.
Yeah, it's not good. And I mean, let's keep in mind, this team had a 2-point lead at halftime, and they had 85 yards of offense, and they finished with less than 300. So again, it's like the defense gets so much credit for this win by holding the Falcons to under 100 yards rushing and getting those takeaways, including the safety, which was not really a takeaway per se, but it was on a fumble from Winfield Jr. And yeah, I'm concerned. I mean, this team is not going to beat a team in the playoffs in the first round.
They're gonna. Whoever wins is going to get boat raced by either whoever wins tonight. The losing team, between the Eagles and Cowboys, will play the Bucs or the Falcons or the Saints.
Now, listen, I don't want the Pewter people to get me wrong. It's like I'm not wanting the Buccaneers to lose for your sake. I hope the Buccaneers win out and all that, but they've got to play better. I mean, they've got to play better. That's what I want them to see happen. Is I want to see this offense really start to click where it can run the ball and pass the ball whenever it wants to, right? And have plenty of options and plenty of answers for different coverages. And it just seemed like the Falcons were sitting in cover 2. Where are the 2-beaters, right? Where are the passing plays that are the 2-beaters that Dave Canales comes up with? It's like it was like every series was, okay, let's try to get into a manageable third down rather than, hey, let's just skip third down altogether, Matt. Let's just throw the ball for 12 yards on first down and go from first down to first down. It's like Canales didn't understand that you can do that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Andy Reid doesn't want to see third down. Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, they don't want to see third down.
Especially now because they're down 14-0. But
right. I mean, Mike McDaniels doesn't want to see third down in Miami, right? I mean, you need chunk plays. They don't have to be 40-yard passes, but I mean, how about a 14-yard pass, right? Move the sticks. And it just seems like, okay, let's run the ball. Ooh, 4 yards, 2nd and 6. Run the ball again. Okay, 3rd and 3.
Yeah, and Scott, to your point, like
a little maddening.
The Falcons playing cover 2, a little similar of when the Bucs in the Super Bowl against the Chiefs played cover 2, and they didn't want to allow the big play because guys like Tyreek Hill. But you know why that defense worked? Was because JPP and Shaq Barrett were all over Patrick Mahomes the entire game because they had a pass rush. The Falcons, they got to Baker here and there, but by and large part, Bucs offensive line did a really good job pass protecting for Baker Mayfield. So Baker had the time, and yet guys still weren't getting open. Because there was a point in this game where I was like, is Baker playing bad, or is he just like no one's open, so there's nothing else he can do besides like scramble? Because I think to a degree, at least in the first half of the game, that was going on. Guys just weren't open. Then in the second half, Baker just really had poor throws. There was one to Chris Godwin where like not even Shaq could have jumped up and made threw it so high.
Yeah, it was back-to-back bad throws. One to Mike Evans on the left side of the field, and one to Chris Godwin on the right.
He looked so dejected, and I don't know if it was because like he kind of dove, so I don't know if he got banged up a little bit or if he was just like, damn, like Baker is really sucking today. But like either way, Mike just looked extremely dejected. And there's only so many things that could really put you in a good mood if you are feeling dejected. I know for me, if I want to boost my mood, I have a Celsius energy drink.
Yes, amen to that.
Sponsor of the Pewter Report podcast. Check out the Cosmic Vibe, which is their newest flavor. The Oasis Vibe is also a fairly new drink as well over at Celsius. They got so many awesome flavors: the sparkling orange, the strawberry acai, sparkling wild berry, Fuji apple pear. I love the strawberry lemonade as well. So many great flavors. Is really what I'm trying to tell you. And if you want to know where to find a Celsius, or maybe you're like in a new area on vacation and you want to pick one up, go to the Celsius store locator, punch in your address, and it will tell you the closest geographical location where you can pick one up. It could be at a Walmart, a health and fitness store, 7-Eleven, Target, or could be at your bodega.
Bodega.
And once you go to your bodega and you love Celsius and you want more, you can get it in bulk by going over to Amazon. Click on the subscribe and save. I'd recommend getting the variety pack because variety is the spice of life, and there's so many awesome flavors that you have over at Celsius. You could have it sent to your place of residence whenever you want. It could be a week, month, quarterly, yearly. You're in charge. You're the captain. Just make sure you're drinking Celsius energy drinks. Make Celsius your number one pick. Celsius, the official energy drink of PewterReport.com. I got a couple more super chats to get to, so let's keep it rolling. Starting with Tusk the Third. Thank you for the $4.99 super chat, who says, hate almost rooting for a loss. Worried the Bucs do just enough to not make the necessary moves in the offseason. Parentheses, Bowles gone and new quarterback. Cheers, guys. Thank you very much for the comment. I will say, I'm curious, Scott, if this happened to you as well. It did cross my mind when the Bucs scored with the 31 seconds on the touchdown to Cade Otton. I did think, like, well, they could blow it. Like, it's happened against the Texans. I know Desmond Ritter isn't C.J. Stroud, but that did cross my mind. I'm curious if any other...
It crossed my mind, too.
All right, cool. All right.
Yeah, it crossed my mind, and it's it shouldn't, right? If this was a good team, you wouldn't be thinking that, right? You just wouldn't. But here we are. And again, I'm not trying to rain on anyone's parade. This was a much needed win for the Buccaneers, for Todd Bowles, for this team, for their playoff hopes. It's always good to beat a division rival. Like, I'm right there with you. At the same time, this team is still 6-7. Now, can they get some momentum here? I mean, they've won back-to-back games now, right?
If they beat the Packers, but if they beat the Packers,
I'm with you.
That's momentum. That's 3 wins in a row, and that's a big-time win against a team that's been playing well up until we'll see how they play tomorrow, but a team that's been playing well. And then not only are you in the NFC South race, you're also in the wild card race as well, if that doesn't work out.
That's right.
I got a super chat from Meets McGee. Thanks, Meets McGee, for the $2 super chat. Would you mind a Justin Fields and Monken tandem? I would like Monken. I don't know about Justin Fields. I mean, they just won today, so the Bears, the Bears might be holding on to him. I would rather try my luck with like a new rookie quarterback than a guy that you're trying to re-salvage his career, which kind of like what the Bucs are doing right now with Baker.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, Matt. I think a fresh start, is needed. I just not a believer in Justin Fields' ability to really see the field. Now Todd Monken, we'll see. We really can't talk about Todd Monken. We got to talk about Todd Bowles because he's still the head coach for this team, and we'll see how long that continues. This was a much needed win for Todd Bowles today. Absolutely needed this. I still stand by what I've said earlier, which is I think even if this team wins the division, they probably need to win a home playoff game for him to be assured that he comes back. and you have to think too, Matt. It's like the Green Bay game. That's up next. Then you've got the Saints, right? And they're still alive in the NFC South race, so they're going to be, going full bore. Same with Jacksonville. So those are 3 tough games coming up, 3 really good opponents. Then you end with Carolina, and that was a team that you barely beat by 3 points. So where is this team going to finish record-wise? Are they going to finish with 8 wins again? I don't think Bowles returns at all. Are they going to finish with 9 wins? Well, does 9 wins, Matt, does 9-8 get them into the playoffs as that final wild card? Does 9-8 win the division? Okay, it's technically a 1-game improvement for Todd Bowles, and then he probably still has to win a playoff game. If they get the 10 wins, all right, now it's a different story, right? If they get the 10 wins, and that means winning out, right, to finish 10-7, because they're already at 6-7 right now. So if they win out, then that might be enough and we'll see what happens in the playoff game at home, because at 10-7, the Bucs would win the division. So we'll see, but a lot of football left to be played. They're keeping it interesting, Matt. That's what's fun about this is the intrigue. It's never boring with these Buccaneers, whether you want to throw your remote through the television screen or you break your TV from jumping up and down because of Cade Otton's touchdown at the last minute. This team will make it interesting. They keep it interesting, and it's going to come right down to the wire like it did last year, Matt, in this division.
I can see a world where, just because like we say the Falcons are going to Falcon, the Bucs are going to Buck. There is a world where, the Cowboys do tend to get embarrassed on national television from time to time, and they do it in very different ways. Losing to whoever crappy team wins the NFC South in the playoffs, that could be an embarrassing Cowboys moment. So there is a world where that could happen.
That's right.
Anyway, let's move on to Spider-Man for this $4.99 super chat. Thank you, Spider-Man, who says, you like that? You said you didn't think Baker had what it took to win the game if it came down to the wire. Bucs final drive, Baker got it done. Spider-Man, to your point, that is true. Baker did get it done in crunch time at the moment. Can he do it in a playoff game, in a Super Bowl? Can he even do it consistently? That I don't necessarily think that he can do. And he was flat out awful up until that point. So how many times are you going to be in that situation where you're awful, but you still have a chance to win it at the end? I still like my odds betting against Baker Mayfield, but you know what? In this one, you're right. So credit to Baker. He sucked all game, but he didn't give up. He didn't sulk. He just kept pushing forward. So he definitely deserves credit for that.
He does deserve credit for it. I will say that this is the first time that's happened this year, Matt, right? Where he's led a team. When you think about those wins, right?
He did it in the Texans game, but the defense didn't hold up their end of the bar.
Yeah, he should have gotten credit for that. Okay, he's done it a couple times, perhaps, but I don't know. I'm not saying that he's not been the reason for 7 losses this year, but he hasn't done enough in many of those games.
How many wins
to get them wins either?
How many is he the reason for why they won?
Exactly. Yeah.
I would say maybe one.
Yeah.
Maybe one.
If the Buccaneers have a dominant defense and a dominant ground game, then Baker Mayfield can succeed, right? But they're just not there. Like, this is not a dominant defense. The defense played well today. It played very well in stretches, but
well enough. I think very well might be.
Yes, very well in stretches. But very well overall, no, not when Drake London has 10 catches for 172 yards, right?
By the way, not to cut you off, Scott, but he made an incredible catch on the jumping play. Yeah. I'm curious, though, just to get your opinion on it, and really the only person that knows this answer is Antoine Winfield Jr., but Antoine saw the ball and he almost got under it like a kick returner is getting ready to field a kick or a punt. I wonder if he just didn't see Drake London at all, because I feel like if he saw Drake London, he would have been like, oh crap, he's going for it too, and I'm going to jump. And
I don't think he saw it.
Knock it down for a pass breakup. I think Antoine Winfield Jr. didn't see Drake London at all.
I agree with you, Matt. I don't think he saw Drake at all. And I think Drake flashed in front of him at the very end and snatched the ball out of his hands. That would have been an interception for sure. So, yeah, I'm with you. I don't think that he saw Drake London. A great play by that young man. Holy smokes, what a good receiver he's
unreal.
really turned into be.
Yeah, fantastic play. There were Bucs fans, too, that were like, I'm not even mad. That was just a great play.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? You're right. I agree. That was just a great play. We got a super chat from our guy, Adam Hamilton. Thank you. We appreciate you for the 1999 super chat, who says, hey, boys, did we just lose Jaden Daniels? Realistically, what do you think Bowles needs to do to stay in Tampa? Yay, we won, but this brand isn't fun to watch. Love your commentary during the game, Matt. Y'all are him. Go Bucs. Adam, thank you so much. I mean, I have a great time when I do the Pewter Game Day show. I know not all of these games are great, so I try to provide as much entertainment as I possibly can.
That's
so
right.
when you say things like that, it really does mean a lot. So thank you for that. To the Jaden Daniels part, yeah, I think they're out of the Jaden Daniels sweepstakes. I truly think, and obviously winning the Heisman last night helps. Congrats to him.
Yeah.
I got to see him play live this year, which I think is a little cool thing to say, that I saw him live this year when he won the Heisman. And a game that Florida State won, which should have got them to the college football playoff, but I digress.
Agreed.
I think, and I've said this before, he's going to have the Anthony Richardson effect of, at first you're like, I don't know, as an NFL product. And then the more and more that we get closer to the Combine, the Senior Bowl, and all that fun stuff, then it's like, oh, wow, like this dude's going to be the third pick of the draft after Caleb Williams and Drake May in whatever order. So, yeah, I don't think Jaden Daniels is going to be in Tampa, not by choice of the Bucs, but by choice of the other teams in front of him, in front of them.
Yeah, and I think the thing too is and I put this in the chat. We've got a story up on pewterreport.com where it talks about the Bucs draft order tumbling. So you can read this in the chat. I'm going to give it away right here. I want you to read the story, but they've fallen now from 10th to 19th. With this win. Now you think, how in the world can a 6 and 7 team pick that late in the draft? But keep in mind, if you make the playoffs, you are automatically kind of like at the back of the line for teams that didn't make the playoffs, right? So remember the Buccaneers last year, they had they had an 8-9 record, and there were teams that picked ahead of the Buccaneers that had better records, but they were not in the playoffs. So that's what happens is right now, Buccaneers have fallen from 10 to 19, and you've got the Houston Texans that are now 7-6, the Colts that are now 7-6, and they actually pick ahead of the Buccaneers. But because they're on the outside looking in right now with the way the playoffs are today, that's where the Buccaneers are picking right now, 19th. So they fill essentially 9 spots with this win, and we'll see what happens. I mean, if the Buccaneers lose next week at Green Bay and the Falcons and Saints win, I don't think they play each other. Maybe they do, but if they win, then all of a sudden the Buccaneers are not back in the NFC South lead. They're fallen out of that lead, and as a result, they would probably go much closer to having a top 10 pick and have that kind of slingshot effect, if you will.
Yeah, and to Adam's last thing about Todd Bowles, I think we kind of already outlined it. Win your first playoff game, and Bucs fans are gonna get furious because they'll win their wild card game.
Yeah,
and everyone will be like, "No, like this is like you said, a mirage. This isn't sustainable." And they'll get waxed by like the 49ers in the second round or whatever. And listen, I want Bucs fans to be happy, but if you can't kind of objectively look at the comedy of it, maybe you're in the wrong business. Tyson C, thank you for the $4.99 super chat. It says, "Hey Matt and Scott, I love the show and all the work you guys do." Thank you so much, Tyson. But am I the only one tired of the coward play calling for a second season? I'm tired of just coward play calling across the league. Everyone's so afraid to, we're going to throw an interception here, or we're going to get sacked here, and it's going to put us out of field goal range. And I think so many people, not just the Bucs, they're so damn worried about what bad can go happen that you don't even think about what is good and what can happen if you try going for it or you try something different. And yeah, I would like to see that across the league. So I'm with you, Tyson. I'm tired of coward play calling.
Yeah, the thing I'll add too is the one thing that's nice about Todd Bowles this year is that in instances where he's on the other side of the 50, right, where he's on the opponent's side,
Mhm.
and it's 4th and 2, and he's not going for it, at least he's sending out a kicker that can make a 56-yard field goal rather than the punter, because that's what we saw last year. We saw too much of those situations where analytics tell you to go for it to begin with. Okay, so if Todd Bowles is not going to go for it, well, okay, he's not. But at least they're trying to get points out of it and not punting the ball and seeing if they can pin him inside the 10-yard line, right? So at least there's that. At least we're seeing Chase McLaughlin's leg and him nailing 56 and 55 and 57-yard field goals this year, at least getting points for the Buccaneers. So there is that. It's cowardice, yes, but at least it's cowardice that ends with 3 points rather than a punt. So
it was funny early in the game. Like you said, the Bucs didn't go for it. They kicked the field goal. Falcons went for it on 4th down. Granted, it was a 4th and 1 and not like a 4th and 2 or 3 that the Bucs had. Got it and scored a touchdown on that drive. So anyway, thank you to Tusk the Third again for another super chat. This one also at $4.99 says, is there a scenario where two teams can tie for the division lead after 17 games and have to go rock, paper, scissors their way into the dance? It's funny you say that comment because it does remind me of Friday Night Lights, the movie, not the TV show, which is also very good, but the movie. Right. They had to do like a coin flip to decide who gets in. And the NFL, actually, I was about to say the NFL would never allow that, but the NFL loves money, and they could easily monetize a half an hour show, which they would make into a 2-hour show where 3 coaches do a coin flip and one gets into the playoffs.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, Todd Bowles has the disadvantage because he's 60 years old and he's got arthritis in his thumb. So when he's going to be flipping the coin, right? I'm just like, it's like, yeah, there could be some commentary about that. It would be funny. And you know what? I don't know what the ultimate end tiebreaker is. I mean, I know that it goes, from your record, your division record, your head-to-head, your common opponents, right? So I think common opponents is really kind of where things get separated. At least that's the case right now, right? The Buccaneers with those wins at Minnesota and against Tennessee, that's what has Tampa Bay in the driver's seat right now for this week against the two teams with 6 and 7 records, the Falcons and Saints. So we'll see, but I'm pretty sure it might end in a coin flip if all of those tiebreaker criteria are not exhausted, and it comes down to that. That's
one thing where you don't have to worry about a tiebreaker or a win or loss or anything like that, where either you win or you lose. That's going to be over at Underdog Fantasy, where if you use the promo code Pewter, you can get a free money into your bank account by using the promo code Pewter, Pewter. Underdog Fantasy is so much fun to use. Their pick'ems is really what I hone in on. You pick at least 2 players, has to be one from each team. So if you're watching Bucs Falcons today, you pick one from the Bucs, one from the Falcons. Maybe if you're watching the Sunday night game tonight and it's Eagles Cowboys, you pick one from the Eagles, one from the Cowboys. You can pick up to 5 players and win up to 20 times your money. And you're just picking on a number of stats of either receiving yards for a player or will this quarterback throw an interception, things of that nature. It's so much fun to play. It's even more fun when maybe it's 2 teams you don't really care about that much, but you just love football and you love watching football. Gives you a little more reason to watch. And they do it for all the different sports, and they got a ton of fun in-game tournaments and prizes that you can win. They got the rivals as well, and the pick'em, like I just said. So go to Underdog Fantasy, use the promo code Pewter, that's Pewter, get a first deposit bonus when you play with Underdog Fantasy, and start winning that money. You watch my show, Pewter Picks and Props, you'd be up a lot of money right now. So check out Underdog Fantasy, promo code Pewter. We got more super chats to get to. We really appreciate you, Pewter people. I know, again, not always easy with this Bucs teams, but you guys still always deliver, so can't thank you enough. And thank you to Paul, a.k.a. Florida Dreamhouse, with this $10 super chat, who says, explain Baker playing better in Los Angeles with weak talent but solid stats, inconsistency, play with the Bucs, a lack of running backs, poor play calling are factors. I acknowledge he needs to improve as well, but let's be fair.
Yeah. I think I would sum it up, Matt, to say that Baker has not been the reason why the Buccaneers have lost.
Yes.
But he hasn't been the reason why they've won a lot. I think that when you look at he's got 20 touchdowns now and 8 interceptions. That's a favorable 2-to-1 touchdown interception ratio, right? It's better than 2-to-1. So he's played well. He's helped his case when it comes to free agency next year. I don't know that he is, he's not an upper echelon quarterback. Is he a good starting quarterback? Yes, he is. And I think that you could really win some games with him if you had a stout, dominant defense.
Yeah.
And a really consistent running game. And now we're kind of seeing this consistent running game, right? I mean, again, we talked about it before. Mm-hmm. Rachaad White was the offense today. And he didn't have his best performance really till the fourth quarter, right? Where they got the touchdown. Actually, that might have come in the third, end of the third, the start of the fourth, whatever. But when you look at what he's been able to do these last couple of weeks, and I wrote about it in the SR's Fab 5, 102 yards rushing today, 84 yards rushing last week, 100 yards rushing at Indianapolis. I mean, that's, he's averaging 90 plus yards per game on the ground. And that's a far cry from where he and this running game were at the beginning of the year, even the middle of the year, right? And so the other thing, too, that's impressive is the touchdowns. He had a touchdown today. He had a touchdown last week on the ground against the Panthers. Didn't score against the Colts, but had a touchdown against the 49ers, had a touchdown against the Titans, had 2 touchdowns against the Texans. So he's had 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 touchdowns now in the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games. Yeah. I mean, that's solid performance right there from your running back. And we'll see if he's going to end up getting 1,000 yards on the season. He still has some work to do, but the needle's pointing up for Rachaad White, and they don't win the game today without him having kind of a command performance.
I still think that they should bring in another running back next season.
Oh, I agree. Yeah.
Definitely do like what I've seen from Rachaad White. To answer your question, Paul, when I look at the question, it is a great question. We appreciate your support. When I look at this, I think of not just this season. I think long term, because the Bucs want a franchise quarterback that they can have for the next 10 years.
Yeah.
Let's cut it in half and say 5 years. Is this the quarterback you play that you want for the next 5 seasons? Yeah. I think the answer is no. It's sustainable. And all right, maybe because I pay attention to this team a little bit more, but Baker, to your point, Scott, is playing well into a situation where if he has the right situation or a perfect situation, this could work. Where I could see Baker going to the Jets next season, and Aaron Rodgers is the guy. But if something happens to Rodgers like it did this season, Jets fans would go, "Oh, you can still do stuff with Baker. You can still win with Baker, and it's not inept like it is with Zach Wilson right now." Right. I'm not saying Baker's going to the Jets next season, but there are probably 2 or 3 other teams that might find themselves in that situation. He's an upgrade over Josh Dobbs, and everything that Josh Dobbs is doing. So there is room for Baker in the NFL. Now, why did he play so well in that one game for the Rams? There's not tape on him in that offense.
Yeah.
So it's crazy. So that's why we're still talking about it, because it's so few and far between. I would also counter that with, well, how did Baker look in the rest of the games that he played for the Rams? Because it wasn't good. So it was just such a very crazy moment. But for the Bucs, you don't want that for the next 5 seasons. You'd rather take a chance with someone else and see if you can improve on that, because this is kind of the best it's going to get with Baker.
It's not about winning division titles, Matt. At the end of the day, it's about winning in the playoffs and winning Super Bowls, right? And I think the Glazers, depending on the outcome this season, they're going to have to look at it and say, is Todd Bowles a Super Bowl caliber head coach? Is Baker Mayfield a Super Bowl winning caliber quarterback? And those are going to be some hard questions they're going to have to answer. And both Bowles and Baker have 4 more games to fill out the resume a little bit, pad the stats, and get some more wins, and and then we'll see what happens. But today it was enough. We'll see what happens next week in Green Bay.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks to Bucs Basement for the $5 super chat, who says, this win should not take away from the fact we have an awful head coach and Baker Mayfield has played like trash the last 2 weeks. Alarmingly bad. It does have a little bit of the feeling of they are putting lipstick on a pig. A little bit with this win. But a win is a win is a win is a win. Doesn't matter how it happens. And that's the NFL for you. I mean, the Bears beat the Lions today.
Yeah.
The Lions haven't looked good the last couple of weeks. But, there are upsets every week. There are teams that win for no reason why they should win. And that's just kind of how the NFL goes.
Yeah, no, you're right. I think the biggest thing too is when it comes to winning, if you want to win in real estate, well, there's one person that you need to call and have on your side, whether you draft him, whether you trade for him, whether you sign him. Eric Gross with the Eric Gross Group, the official realtor of Pewter Report. It takes a full team effort to win a football game, as we saw today in Atlanta. It also takes a full team effort to win in real estate. And the Eric Gross Group has done hundreds of transactions in this crazy real estate market. And he and his team have experience in all types of situations. As you know by now, Eric is a huge Pewter Report reader and a huge Tampa Bay fan. He's also a Tampa native, so he knows this area like the back of his hand. His father is stationed at MacDill Air Force Base. He and his team have got the market knowledge, the top-notch communication, and commitment to excellence that sets them apart. With their strong team of vendors and a network of over 85,000 agents across the country as part of the eXp Realty Group. The Eric Gross Group will turn your dream of buying or selling a home into a reality. Their clients are not just transactions. They're lifelong friendships. Don't let the stress of buying or selling a home keep you out of the game. Let the Eric Gross Group take the pressure off. Find them on Facebook and Instagram at Eric Gross Group. Check out their website, housesinfla.com, or give them a call at 513-907-4271. Again, housesinfla.com. No matter where your home ownership journey takes you or where you are on that journey, you're going to feel welcome with the Eric Gross Group, the official realtor of Pewter Report.
We have one more super chat as we start to wind down the show. Thank you to... Oh, shoot. I just had it. Scott Jacks, thank you for the $1.99 super chat, who says, we're in the middle of a rebuild and don't know it. I don't know. For whatever reason, immediately what pops into my head is Bruce Arians going, we're not rebuilding. We're reloading.
Yeah.
It does feel like, quarterback's the most important position. If you have a stud quarterback, then the Bucs are, are they on the 49ers level? No, I don't necessarily think so.
Right.
But I will say, for the defensive side of things, Kalijah Kancey had another sack today. That's 4 sacks on the season. Yaya Diaby has 5 sacks on the season.
Yeah.
I believe that's tied with all rookies for quarterback sacks on the year.
I think so.
The defensive line is looking very promising for the Bucs in the future with Kalijah Kancey and Yaya Diaby. So it's a little bit of a reload. Clearly, you need to figure out at quarterback and what you want to do at wide receiver with Mike Evans, or maybe even at this point with Chris Godwin. But I don't think it's a total tear it down. You got to figure out quarterback. But outside of that, I mean, there's still a lot of good pieces on this team.
No, you're exactly right. And we've seen some of these younger players make an impact. We talked about Kalijah Kancey's sack. Yaya Diaby, I thought, made some good plays in the run game. Almost had another fumble recovery against the Falcons. Let that slip right through his hands. Winfield just continues to dominate. I mean, he outshined Jesse Bates for the second.
He did.
Get
him on the Pro Bowl voting. Damn it, get him on the Pro Bowl voting and All Pro, of course. But
yeah. I mean, he's having that type of a season. He's just been phenomenal. One guy that's not been phenomenal. Tommy Leverone says, hey, guys, I think Joe Trine-Schwenk is on his way out. How can you let Desmond Ridder score on that TD? Yeah, I mean, you're faster than Desmond Ridder. You have the angle, and you miss that tackle. It just –
And he's right out of bounds, too.
Yeah.
Like, if anything, just push him out of bounds.
Yeah.
How? How does that happen? You think it'd be juiced up because, like, Washington is going to the college football playoff, and
Right.
Greg Gaines got a sack. And
Yeah. He just doesn't have it. He's just not an instinctive football player. I just don't think he ultimately gets it. I think he tries hard. I don't think it's a lack of effort. I think he wants to be really good. I think he's an athlete playing football, and
to
he's
your
not
point, Scott,
a football
I
player.
think he's still very solid as like a run defender. But
Yeah.
you don't draft you don't draft an edge rusher in the first round
Correct.
or give him a second contract for a lot of money because he's good at stopping the run.
Yeah.
You pay that guy and you draft that guy because he can get after the quarterback. And he's just showed right there he doesn't get after the quarterback.
And I think the thing too is, again, Jason Light has his faults, and for sure, no general manager is perfect when it comes to draft picks. Jason is not perfect either. But it says a lot, Matt, when in 2021 he uses that first round pick on JTS, and that's on Jason, right? It's not a good value pick in hindsight, right? And JTS, special teams player, and Logan Hall, right? 3 tackles today, made a couple plays. I thought when he was tackling Tyler Algier, he was getting dragged down the field. He's a 300-pound man getting dragged by a running back. So those 2 top picks have not panned out for Jason Light. And it would be so easy. And there are other general managers in Tampa Bay prior to Jason Light, Matt, that would have given these guys, made excuses for him, given the benefit of the doubt, give them more time to develop. And Jason's like, nope, I'm drafting Elijah Cansey in the first round at defensive tackle. And nope, I'm drafting Yaya Diaby in the 3rd round, right? And it's like, he is so quick to hit the next button, right? It's just next.
He's the anti-Todd Bowles.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, he is not afraid to cut his losses. I mean, he got ridiculed for the Roberto Aguayo pick, rightly so, and he got rid of him after a year. I mean, it just says 2nd round pick, right? So it's one thing to make a mistake, but you compound the mistake when you hang on to it. So it's like, at least he's got like a mulligan here with how Cansey's playing and how Diaby's playing.
And I think you're spot on with that, Scott. I would even say that, and it's a credit to Jason Light, is that he takes his ego out of it, because there are other general managers that would be like, no, Logan Hall's going to turn it around, or JTS is going to turn it around. You have to play him. You'll see. And then, that's what gets general managers fired and scouts and things like that fired, because they're too stubborn with their picks. And you're like, this was my pick. This was my guy.
Right.
I put everything into this, where Jason Light at least can put his ego to the side and say, okay, I picked this guy. It's not working out, but we're going to fix this. I'm
going to draft his replacement the next year.
With the next guy. Again, that's a huge credit, because that's not easy for everyone.
No, it's not.
It's really not. So I think he deserves a lot of credit for that, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, again, making the mistakes, we're going to criticize him for the mistakes, but what do you do to correct the mistakes? And so far, so good with that. Is Logan Hall still on the team? Yeah. He had 3 tackles today, not terrible, not great.
As Chris says, every GM in the league has first round busts. You're never going to find a GM that hits on every single pick. It's just,
the term GM is used to describe general manager. It's also used like in text messages, to describe the term good morning. So when you wake up tomorrow morning, it's going to be a good morning, because you're going to have a Celsius, right, to start your day. But it's also going to be a good morning because you're going to visit pewterreport.com and check out all of our coverage. And it's going to be another great morning, because tomorrow we have a Victory Monday at 4:00 on our podcast, Matt.
Absolutely. We love Victory Mondays. We like Monday shows as well. Usually Mondays suck. Let's all be real. We're all going back to work. Not as fun unless, I have a great job at work, because I'm thankful to be at pewterreport.com. But most Mondays for everyone else, the 9 to 5 people, not as fun. But we try to make Mondays as fun as possible when we do this little thing called Roll Call every single Monday. It's even more fun on a Victory Monday. We do it at 4:20 on the show, where while we're talking, we put on the location of where everyone's watching from. We got great fans in Tampa. We got great fans in the state of Florida, along with across the United States and international as well. So it's just a great way that we get involved with everybody. So looking forward to that for tomorrow's show.
I'm with you, Matt. Let's do it again tomorrow at 4:00, Pewter people.
Yeah, so make sure you follow us on all our social media at Pewter Report, Pewter Report TV for our YouTube channel. But that's going to do it for us tonight. For Scott Reynolds, I'm Matt Matera saying thanks, everybody, for watching. We'll see you tomorrow for another edition of the Pewter Report podcast. Bucs win. They're in first place. Can you believe it? Out.